we've decided to do for this Advent season. We are going to use this book. It is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And it's an old book. I mean, I'm rereading it now, and I'm like, wow. You know, it's just interesting, right? You read something, you get it, and then you read it again, and you get it. So that's where I am right now with this. And we've been blessed by the Reverend Pat Williamson, who's out in Minnesota. He's a Unity minister, long-term, lovely, lovely man. And last year what he did is he did the Four Agreements, and he wound it in with the Christmas story. So we are going to do that with you this year because I think it's just juicy. And I also think that it has a beautiful theme of how we can live our lives in peace and intentionality in a really nice, clean way. And I want to read you a little excerpt from here. This talks about someone who was learning to be a shaman, and about 3,000 years ago. And this is what he discovered on his awakening. Everything in existence is a manifestation of the one living being we call God. Everything is God. And he came to the conclusion that human perception is merely light perceiving light. He also saw that matter is a mirror. Everything is a mirror that reflects light and creates images of the light. And the world of illusion, the dream, is just like smoke, which doesn't allow us to see what we really are. The real us is pure love, pure light. I mean, that's unity through and through, is it not? So today, the lovely LUT, you know, not every church has an LUT, and you know how much I love this woman. I will get there. Thank you, Bonita. Wow, I've got such helpers, I tell you. I breathed. That was a pause to breathe. So Sharon Dwyer has been a long-time member here. She's also a licensed Unity teacher, which is what LUT means. And that means that she studied for about 5 years the foundational principles of Unity. I mean, it's just wonderful. We bounce ideas off of each other. And today she's going to kick off our Advent season by talking about the first agreement, which is be impeccable with your words. Sharon Dwyer, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice, new, and it works. I've never used it before, so I'm so grateful to be able to use it today. All right. The Four Agreements. Yeah, I read this book some years back, and in reading it, I had some different takes also, and that happens a lot, and that's why it's good for us to revisit anything that we have read before, especially that has spiritual teachings for us, because we can see it differently, you know? I mean, once I went to a Course in Miracles introduction, and at the break, a couple of people said, hey, I'm leaving because I already know this stuff, you know? And I'm sorry, but if you know the Course in Miracles, you know that we probably never in these bodies really know all this stuff. We are always learning. So it's good to revisit things that we've studied before and see if we can see them differently. And that even includes our own histories, our own lives. It's good to revisit because sometimes we can see things differently. And that's part of what the Four Agreements are all about, because they are about transformation. We say that a lot in Unity. I think it shows that it's not a one-shot deal, transformation, you know, for most of us, although for some it is. In fact, for the author of this book, The Four Agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz, he is one of those people who had like a total breakdown and a breakthrough You know, that happens to some of our foremost spiritual teachers, such as Eckhart Tolle, for example, and Byron Katie, another one. He was in a terrible wreck, and he watched himself. He was out of his body, watched himself pull his friends from the ditch, from the car, and after that was a transformative experience, you know, and he saw everything differently. And a lot of times this is not a pleasant thing when it happens, and everybody thinks that person is insane because they don't appear in our normal manner, Now, our normal manner, according to Ruiz, is actually a dream. And not the kind of dream that where we're looking for enlightenment, but the kind of dream where we don't know that we're in one. You know, we're just going by something that has been programmed into us through centuries, through generations, by our families, our teachers, everyone. And we call it reality, but perhaps it's not reality with a capital R. Perhaps it is just the conditioning that we've had all our lives. Now, when I first read this book, I thought, yeah, that's really bad. All that conditioning we had, that's really bad. And this time around, I'm thinking, you know, I don't have to judge that. It's part of the human condition. It is part of what we pass through on our spiritual journey. And I don't have a better idea about how to make human beings behave. I couldn't even do it in a middle school classroom. So, you know, so I can't say, that's really bad, we should have done it differently. No, it's how it is. But part of for many of us, for me, and probably for just about everybody here, part of our human experience is to see that dream differently, which doesn't mean to make it wrong, to make us wrong, to make our parents wrong, although some of them really made a lot of mistakes. But, you know, they did the best they could. They did the best they could. So we want to accept that of everyone. We're all doing the best we can with the awareness we have today. So that is true. So we don't need to make it wrong, but what we need to do is wake up, you know. And there are a lot of different ways to do this. I mean, some people now use the word woke, but there are a lot of different ways to wake up. And Ruiz is giving us one path that can work. And it fits in nicely with Advent in that, you know, Advent means coming to something, coming to this holiday season, coming to the traditional birth of the Christ child. Well, we come to it with anticipation, we come to it with curiosity, and it's a season of imagination, and we use the light, the symbol of light, the star, the lights on the tree. All of these things are symbols of imagination and of coming into something new. And so it's a wonderful time to do that. And when the Christ child is born, you know, that is the child within us, in our hearts, the baby within us, who will grow up to be the Prince of Peace. The Prince of Peace within. That is what that baby is. So in Unity, we always look at things metaphysically, and that means we don't take it literally, although we might look at the historical value of it in a literal way. But we take it as everything in that story is me. I am every person, every critter in that story. I might even be an ass sometimes. But I am also an angel. I am the baby. I'm the little lamb. I'm the little shepherd boy. You know, I'm the virgin. I'm every part of the story is an aspect of me. So if instead of looking at that story as, oh yeah, that old story, whatever, look at it with curiosity again, and think of it as a story about me, you, all of us, and our emotions, our hopes and dreams, and also in unity, the powers that we have as not only human beings, but as divine beings. We are both human and divine. And it takes a lot for us to realize that. I mean, we usually start out saying, what? If we were raised in a traditional Christian church, we'll say, well, that's heresy. That's not right. But in unity, we say, Jesus, the Christ, is our way shower. Jesus was a man, and the Christ means the anointed one. The chosen one, the chosen one, the special one that is each of us. And Jesus, the person, showed us the potential that we have. Spiritual potential. We are human. We have incredible potential that many of us aren't aware of, and certainly we may not do all the things he did in this lifetime, but he did say in the Bible that we could. And some people walked on fire, not me. Some people have done that, had that experience. Some might have walked on water. Don't raise your hand right now. Later. But we can do many things that we never thought we could. So we are having an experience of a dream. We have the dream of our family, which is the conditioning that we grew up with within our family. And to a child, that appears to be ultimate, to most children, that appears to be the ultimate reality. Whatever is in my family, it's hard to imagine that there's a reality greater than that. You might imagine that there are things better than that, and you might even have some feelings of shame about that. I did as a child, like even with Christmas, and it took me to be way beyond childhood to get over this, I tell you. Go, well, Christmas in my family isn't like Christmas is supposed to be, I mean, there's all these things that just weren't in the pictures that we saw, And I always felt kind of ashamed. I carried that with me. And shame, well, let's go back. Guilt, I think, is a feeling of awfulness about something we've done. Okay? But shame is a feeling of awfulness about who we are. And that is well, that's about as low as we can get. That's really sinful, actually. We don't know that when we're growing up, or even most adults, but that's sinful. If we think of sin as being missing the mark, or not doing our best, not being our highest self that we possibly can, then shaming ourselves is really sinful, because it's not about who we really are. It's about something that's part of our dream, our old dream, the book of laws that we grew up with from our family, from our community, our church, our schools, our state, our country, the world, the different cultures, Christianity, or if you grew up in a different religion, perhaps you have some kind of residue from that dream. But that is the dream that we need to wake up from, and to be able to look with new eyes and curiosity and anticipate that there is something greater than the book of laws that told us if we didn't do it that way, we were wrong. We were just not correct. We weren't right, We got out of line, as a child in elementary school, straight lines. I still hear that today. I volunteer in elementary school. And I'm not opposed to it, having been a teacher, as I say. I still wish I could make people get in straight lines when I tell them to. But no, it doesn't work. So, awareness that we are living in a dream of limitation from our histories is a turning point. And continuing that awareness is our spiritual path, our movement. And we can do that in Advent just as well as any other time. We can look to the coming of peace, hope, love, joy, in anticipation and with curiosity. And the 4 agreements are ways of breaking out of the old dream, the old book of laws, and moving into a new reality of the power of imagination, the power of hope, the power of love, the power of peace, all these things, the power of joy. And that is what our Advent can be about. And the first of these agreements is be impeccable with your word. We always teach that which we most need to know and to learn, right? So that's how I got this one. Be impeccable with your word. Now, I always thought of impeccable as being a way of dressing flawlessly or something that was correct, but impeccable is without sin. You know, the roots of that word mean without sin. Like the word, what is it, peccadillos, faults or whatever. But anyway, it all comes from a word for sin, and so it is the same as missing the mark. Impeccable means to use our word in a correct manner. As we do when we say, I am, and follow that with a power, a spiritual power. And to speak impeccably is to become aware of that and make a commitment to follow through with it. And it does not mean always to do it and to beat ourselves up if we don't, because that's really, really unrealistic at all. It means awareness. And when we don't speak with impeccability or with the truth, spiritual truth, or with love, just be aware of it. It's like when we're trying to meditate, or we are meditating, and we're following our breath or a mantra, and then we catch ourselves and we're at Walmart or something. It's to come back, or Target, we don't go to Walmart anymore. I'm trying to break that habit. But we come back to the breath. We come back to the mantra. We don't go, oh, you horrible person. You didn't meditate right. Sometimes we might do that, but that's not it. We're going to speak impeccably to ourselves and to others, and that means that we're going to recognize the divinity in ourselves and in others and forgive ourselves and others. Not easy, but accomplishable. Forgiveness is part of it too, forgiving ourselves and others. Because when we are blaming or angry at someone else, we're just bringing it back to us. You know, that old thing of 3 fingers? I always have a problem with that because I want to say, 4 fingers are pointing back at you when you point one at someone else, but it's really only 3. So, but it comes back to us. It's actually a spiritual axiom because it reflects back to us. You know, and I mean, I did that this week. I was so angry, and it was with something that happened politically. It wasn't even an individual. I was really angry with people that I even usually agree with in Washington, but I didn't agree with them. They didn't do what I wanted to. I was really mad, and I even went to a senator's page and posted a curse word on her page. And I forgive myself for doing that, all right? Like she's going to care. But still, I forgive myself for doing that because I was in righteous indignation. And you know how we can do things through that one. So I'm trying to look at that and be impeccable with my word next time. Okay. But being impeccable with our words is recognizing some of the meanings of our words too. The Word is another name for Jesus the Christ. The Word is another name for God manifesting on earth. The word is logos. The word, Christos is the word that the Christ comes from. The word is Buddha. The word is divinity, the divinity within. All of those things are really the word with a capital W. And awareness of that can help us remember to be more honest and loving and peaceful and gentle with ourselves and others in using our word. So that's our first agreement, and the point is to reflect on this and to see if you are ready to make a commitment, not to correct behavior all the time, but to a powerful intention from within to be impeccable with our words. And I'm willing to make that commitment. I know some of you may catch me, you know, in little peccadillos, but I'm willing to make that commitment. And I hope that some of you are too. So, yes.